With the recent airing of The Power of the Doctor, the 13th Doctor's era has come to a close. This is the end for Jodie Whittaker. And now that we can view her era as a whole, I thought, what better time to rank each of the Doctors, on a tier list. So that's what we're going to be doing today. This is going to be a pretty low-key, low-effort video. Just thought it would be fun to post my personal rankings of the Doctors, not from objective quality, but how much I enjoy watching them. And I would love to hear what you guys think, so make sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree, disagree, etc. We've got our tier list set up here. I don't know, it's a little boring. Why don't I throw up something interesting to watch? Boom. Well, I guess it's not really on brand. There. All right, great. Let's go. Starting with the first Doctor, William Hartnell. This is an interesting one for a few reasons. One, he was the first, and so because of that, there wasn't anything to judge him against. He sort of set the mold, and a lot of the more popular tropes that came about later, he really didn't have access to. For example, he's older. That's important. I think a lot of people kind of gloss over this. The incredibly old man in a young person's body is something they play with a lot more in modern Who, but they did play with it a little bit in classic Who. But he's sort of like this kindly old grandpa that can kind of fly off the handle sometimes, but for the most part, there's some magic about him. You want to go on adventures with him, and you want to see the kooky stuff he has to say. William Hartnell is great. He's not my personal favorite. I'm going to put him at B. And anyone who thinks this is too low, a big part of it is the fact that when, the show was airing back in the 60s, it's really slow. It is a slog to watch. Maybe I'm just a zoomer and I'm impatient, but that definitely has some play on this ranking. Okay, Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor. Right off the bat, I like him more than the first Doctor because, and you'll notice this is a pattern with me down the line, he has a very multifaceted personality, so he's sort of this dumb goofball, but it's hiding this really sort of shrewd and calculating guy. I love that. I absolutely love that. I would put him in a solid A if it were not for the fact that most of his stories are missing. That's a big thing. There's just not a lot of 2 content out there, and that kind of is a hindrance for me. So I'm going to put him at the top of B. Third Doctor, Jon Pertwee. This one is really fun. So here's the thing, and I've made this analogy before, and I've had people agree with me. They're like, oh my god, how did I never realize that? And other people think I'm insane. But I think Jon Pertwee is the UK's version of the US's Batman from the 1960s. The one played by Adam West. Now, I know it's not a one-to-one comparison. The 60s Batman is way more comedic than Doctor Who in this era ever got. But it's the same sort of kind of goofy action hero who always has a plan for everything, and they have it's in the exact same way. They have all these goofy vehicles that they drive around. There's a fun charm to it. I also love that this was the era that introduced the Master, which is fantastic. I'm trying not to judge the era. I'm trying to judge the Doctor, but Jon Pertwee versus Delgado as the Master is iconic. It's great. It's just not my cup of tea. So with that said, I'm gonna put him C tier. If there was a C+, that is where I would put him. But yeah, 3 goes into C. The fourth Doctor, Tom Baker. Alright, look, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. He is the most iconic Doctor Who. I mean, even people who have only seen the modern series, they have a pretty good conception of who the fourth Doctor is. I don't really know what I can say that hasn't been said already. I know most people love him for his whimsy. I think what is the greatest aspect of him, and what later becomes the greatest aspect of the Doctor, in my opinion, across any incarnation, is his ability to say things that are so profound and beautiful and true, and it's coming out of the face of this wacky, silly guy. That is probably my favorite, because that's the sort of thing where it's like, this is a dumb kids show, and then he talks about, like, genocide, and do I have the right, and, you know, stuff like scenes like that, and it's like, whoa, okay, there's real substance here. This is like an old soul. So that is the aspect of Tom Baker's Doctor that I really love. I'm gonna get heat for this. I'm gonna get flamed for this. But I'm gonna take it on the chin. He doesn't go in S, he goes in A. I'm putting Tom Baker at the top of A tier. Feel free to tell me why I'm a stupid American in the comments. That's fine. Fifth Doctor, Peter Davison. The reason I say it like that is because at one point I made a video where I pronounced it David Son with a D, and I probably also spelt it like that in text somewhere, and I, to this day, receive about 3 comments every hour that it's Davison, not Davidson. Yes, okay, it's Davison. I got it. Please, for the love of God, leave me alone. Anyway, good doctor. I really like him. I really like that he's very down-to-earth and chill, even though he wears celery. He is a departure, but a welcome departure from the zaniness of 4, and I appreciate that about 5. In no means is he bad. I like a lot of his stories. This is when the camp was starting to get cranked up to 11 towards the end of his run, and we'll talk about that with the next one. But all in all, quality doctor, not great, not terrible. I'm just going to put him in a solid top of C tier. Oh boy, here we go. 6th Doctor, Colin Baker. Okay, look. I know that he's had a bunch of Big Finish audio adventures, and he's amazing in those, and that's wonderful. But I haven't listened to all of those audio adventures. That is not my conception of this doctor. My conception of this doctor is rainbow coats and carrot juice, alright? My conceptions of this doctor are horrible, horrible stories and choking out his companion. That's trying to kill Perry. Those are my conceptions of the 6th Doctor. I will throw all the 6 fans a bone. One of my favorite aspects about him is his eloquent vocabulary. I think it's really funny that he just uses really long, unnecessary words. It's a great aspect of him. I have nothing against Colin Baker, but the 6th Doctor, my perception of him, very stinky, very bad. He's gonna go in D. The 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. All right, this is probably gonna surprise a lot of people. He's going in A. I love 7. I love 7. I love Ace. Ace is my favorite classic companion. 7 is great. Okay, for the same reason that I like 2, 7 is that, but cranked up. It's not that he's goofy on the outside, but secretly calculating. It's that you never know what he's thinking. He's always the mastermind. He's always got something going on that you don't know, and when he reveals it, your just jaw hits the floor. I love 7. I love 7. He's going in A. Another one people probably don't expect, 8th Doctor, Paul McGann. He's going to go higher than you probably think, but not for the reasons you think. So, I am aware that Paul McGann has 10 trillion stories on Big Finish, and a bunch of them are amazing, and people love them. I have not listened to any Big Finish. But even so, I think he is an A-rank Doctor. Even with the pretty crappy movie, and that's it. No, even between the movie and the short stint where he was in Night of the Doctor before the 50th anniversary special, I think he is probably the second best actor to take the role. And you may, if you know me, know who I think the first best actor is to take the role. But Paul McGann is incredible. He just oozes charisma and gravitas. He rocks an ascot. He's so... I just love him. He's great. In the tiny stints that I've seen him, even in the movie, which a lot of people think is horrible. I did a review of the movie. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would because Paul McGann is so great. He is so great as the Doctor. I think he's on the level of, like, 4. He doesn't have the popularity. I think he's on that quality level. I'm putting him in A. Okay, a little bit of a sidetrack, kind of. I was originally going to go straight into the modern series and start with Eccleston, but I'm going to go in chronological order and do the War Doctor, John Hurt. Now, my opinion of the War Doctor, because there's very little content of him, obviously, I think he goes low because he doesn't have very much content. He has virtually no screen time. Again, I'm pretty sure he has an audio series too, but he did not shine in his limited time anywhere near as much as I felt 8 shined in his time. Now, John Hurt, incredible actor, no issues there. It's just the character himself was just sort of like grumpy old man, but he was still kind of funny and quippy. I would have preferred if either he was relatively positive like all of the other doctors, or he was really angry and mean. And they didn't go either way. They sort of treaded that line, and I feel like they didn't fully commit to, if you are so concerned with your actions that you don't even consider yourself the doctor, why are you so, like, nice and silly? Obviously he was kind of grumpy, but he was not the angry, war-torn veteran that I expected him to be. And that is that combined with the fact that he did not have a lot of screen time, I'm going to put him in D. Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. He is ungodly levels of underrated. Now, I've heard that this is not true in the UK. Everybody loves him there. But in the US, nobody talks about the Ninth Doctor. So many people skip Series 1. They just want to get right to David Tennant. And I get that if it's like, fangirls because they think Tennant is hot or whatever. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. That's how you choose to engage with the series. That's cool. That's great. I have no problem with that. But Christopher Eccleston is phenomenal. He is a great doctor. And he has what I think is most important in a character, a really good character arc. For the one series he has, he definitively changes. You get to watch him change. It's believable, and it's interesting, and it's heartfelt, and you feel it. It's great. I love Christopher Eccleston. One of the things also that I haven't mentioned yet is he has a physicality that's unique to his doctor. He kicks down doors. When he walks, he's not just strutting. He's like he storms places. He doesn't march, he like storms. He walks around, he's got that like leather jacket. He's tough, but he's not like a meathead. You know what I mean? He's obviously intelligent like every other version of the Doctor, but like he handles business. Eccleston is great. I'm going to put him at the top of B. All right. The big one. The 10th Doctor. David Tennant. Super wacky that he's back now. That's really funny. But beyond that, he is what made the Revival series explode in popularity, and for good reason. He's really good at this sort of... He's very funny and very likable, but he also does melodrama really, really well. And the main problem that a lot of people have with him, which is how he acts in his final story when he's regenerating, I actually have defended pretty fiercely in the past. I think it's actually a really good piece of character writing. It fits with how short of a time he's had to be the Doctor, and also that this is sort of a very, very human version of the character, that he hasn't really been this human before, and I really do like that. As far as ranking goes, I'm probably going to have to put him end of A. End of A, yeah. Very good Doctor, like him a lot. I guess he's just not particularly stand out to me for whatever reason. He's sort of like bread and butter Doctor Who to me. He was what I watched when I was like getting into it for the longest period of time. Because by the time I got to Matt Smith, I just started like binging. He's very good. He's consistently good. That's what I think of him. Speaking of Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor. All right. This one hurts a little bit. So here's the thing. I think in the same way that David Tennant is like consistently good, and this might be more of an aspect of the writing quality of Davies versus Moffat, but Tennant is consistently good to me. Matt Smith has really high highs and kind of disappointing lows. And I think... So first of all, some of the highest highs when that man gives a speech, hell, he gives a speech. You know, the Pandorica, when he's at the Rings of Akaten, he's captivating. He controls a room, and you feel it. You feel it. Akaten, I've cried, like, listening to that. I have that whole speech memorized. It's phenomenal. He delivers it perfectly. The problem I have with Matt Smith's Doctor, and obviously this is an issue of Moffat's writing, but it is expressed through 11, is that he doesn't often solve problems. A lot of the times, problems are solved by him kind of explaining to a tertiary or like a second character how if they feel or they believe in their heart hard enough, that'll save the day. And I know that's sort of leaning into the whole Series 5 fairy tale thing, but for whatever reason, that kind of irks me. If David Tennant's fixing a problem, he's climbing up a tower with his Sonic in his mouth, and he's, like, pouring oil in a tube or whatever. Like, he's doing science stuff. Matt Smith was very sort of anti-granular. Nebulous is the word I'm looking for. He solved all his problems through very, like, hands-off sort of solutions. And for whatever reason, that irks me. So, I'm gonna put... Would I put him all the way in C for that? Ooh. He gives hell of a speech, though. I'm stuck with either top of C or bottom of B. Because I think he's definitely better than 5. Is he as good as 1? Ugh, I'm going to put him at the top of C. Yeah. And we've made it. Everyone who watches my channel, anyone who knows me, knows exactly where Peter Capaldi goes. If you're curious why I'm putting him here, guess what? I made a video about it like 2 years ago. He's the GOAT. He's the best. He's the greatest for 1,000,001 reasons. I think he's by far the best actor to take the role. I think his character arc is fascinating and introspective and beautiful. I think, you know, when he delivers a speech, it is somehow, like, even better than 4 or 11. It's just, it rips my heartstrings out of my chest. 12 is the best. And I guess one thing that I never mentioned before that I really like is he's super introspective, and he's very much in his own head and concerned with his own personal development, which I think I can relate to a lot. Like, that's something I personally think and worry and agonize about a lot. And seeing a character that I love express himself in that same way is probably a big part of why I love him so much. But yeah, Peter Capaldi, 12th Doctor, going an S. Alright. We've made it. You've seen this tier I've had at the bottom of the list this whole time. It is 3 grimacing emojis. This is for Jodie Whittaker. This is for the 13th Doctor. I know there are a lot of people that hate Jodie Whittaker. I don't have anything against her, personally. But the combination of her and Chibnall was terrible. And I'm actually going to talk about that in the very next one really quick, but she's so wooden. Everything she says is surface value. And if you'll recall, the things I like most about the Doctor is when he's multifaceted. She is, what you see is exactly what you get. And it's just pure sunshine and positivity, which is not bad to have a very positive, very bubbly Doctor. I kind of really like that idea, and maybe you'll know why in a minute. But there needs to be something under the surface. This character is, depending on how you count, 2,000 several billion years old. You've seen a lot of stuff. She's seen a lot of people die. She's lost a lot. And we never, ever get to see that. Like, I think Chris Chibnall allows her to act, like actually act, 3 times across her whole run. And it's very brief, and he usually doesn't write her any dialogue. Like, it is... Ugh. Compare that with the fact that... So in the same way that I was kind of irked by Matt Smith in that the 11th Doctor solves problems sort of by explaining them away, 13 has to explain every single detail of the plot while, like, looking at the camera in every episode. Every single one. She's explaining it like a preschool teacher giving a lecture on circles and squares. It is... Oh, it's so grating. I have to pause her episodes when I watch them. And I don't think it's Jodie's fault. I don't know that she's on the level of some of the other amazing actors that have played the Doctor, but I think you could get a really good performance out of her. I think they did a video game, actually. I could be wrong. I remember there being like a computer or like a video game where the whole plot was you had to get this child home, and this child was from an alien species of like living stars or something like that. And 13 was the Doctor you were like helping. And I remember like watching someone play through that and actually liking her character because she wasn't written like a wooden plank. But yeah, that is ramble, blah, blah, blah. If you love Jodie, I'm sorry. 13's the worst. 13 sucks, unfortunately. And then finally, I wanted to include this one, the Fugitive Doctor, played by Joe Martin. And here's the thing. She showed up 4 times. And 3 of those times, I'm pretty sure it wasn't even her. It was like a hologram or a memory or something. And she had more gravitas than Jodie's entire run. I don't know if it was Joe Martin, or I don't know if Chris Chibnall just like magically developed a little bit of writing talent when he was writing specifically for her. And obviously every time she showed up wasn't like amazing or anything, but like when she first showed up, it was like, oh my god, that's the Doctor. Where has the Doctor been? Oh, yeah, and one other thing, I haven't even been talking about clothing. Joe Martin's Doctor has drip. Her outfit is dope. The, like, orange undershirt and, like, the blue... That's really cool. She looks cool. Especially when you pair her next to Jodie, who has, like, a raincoat and a t-shirt. It's just... It's miles of a difference. Yeah, I think the main thing that's holding back Joe Martin's Fugitive Doctor is screen time. We've gotten very little of her. I liken her actually to the War Doctor. I think I would like her a lot more if we had more screen time. So I'm going to put her right next to the War Doctor in D, just because we barely got anything, and what we did get, I liked a little bit. And there we go. That is my Doctor Who ranking the Doctors tier list. Oh my god, I forgot. Oh no, I'm sorry. There is one more tier, actually. Yeah, right up here, it's the totally dope and lit tier. Yeah, and obviously there's only one Doctor left that could go in it. That is the 13th Doctor from New 13, which is a little fan project. You may or may not have heard of it. But he's obviously the best for a million obvious reasons. I feel like it's very... I don't have to explain that, right? Like, everybody agrees on that one, right? Okay, good.